Hi, good morning. I'm Josanne Wright Callender, the author of Making Do Growing Up Colored in the Jim Crow South During the Great Depression. And today I thought I'd talk about the interview, my first radio interview regarding my book. And so that last blog that I did, like I said, I was so exhausted that I had the one previous to the last one that I had just a lot of cognitive issues, sleep deprivation. Had started a new exercise routine and it was just like dovetailing, but I kept saying, I've got to do a current blog because I haven't said anything about my book, Making Do, in a long time. I still haven't gotten the new banner, so we're still using this one, and I'm trying to block out part of it that doesn't connect with the soon to be today's banner. But I know it's coming, and I believe it's going to be either the end of this month or next month. But be that as it may, my dear friend Phyllis Kelly is also my manager, and she's also the voice behind the audiobook of Making Do, which we're kind of like halfway there and we're picking up some momentum. We're really trying to have this audiobook released by the end of the summer. So we're still working on it, which is part of my perplexity in how to manage time management. That's all I get. Two words, time management. So, it's still happening, but, I'm working on it. So Phyllis found a way for me to have this radio interview. She's been so diligent, calling and taking the book to people, driving great distances to talk about the book. She's the voice to the audiobook, so we both have this passion to get, more people to know what that title is and how this book is it's not just for young adults, it's for people who really who love history. Has a lot of romance in it, but it's still a book I think that everyone can enjoy. So she found a San Diego station, which is a little close to where I live, and Vicki Pepper was the interviewer. So what I'm going to try to do is connect the actual interview to this description box, and if not this one, I'll put a separate um, LinkedIn post with that audio. But this is today's talk, how you have to focus on the task at hand and get her done, no matter what. Like I said, I was tired, exhausted. So there were a couple of things that happened before the interview. One, I thought that both of us were going to be in the interview because we have a lot to say, and sometimes what the other person says, you can riff off of it, and it takes a lot of pressure off of you as the speaker. Now, I haven't done this kind of thing since I made a film with a friend who's since passed called One Down, and we did TV interviews. And it was like so nerve wracking because I'm not a before the camera kind of person. Believe me, it's just not my favorite place. But I co-produced the film, so that they wanted to talk with both of us, and my friend Quan Phillips directed it. So this was the first time that I did an interview since then, and it was just me, the radio interviewer whose show it was inside San Diego. She said that she could only interview one person at a time. She couldn't cut back and forth, and sometimes the phone levels are not the same. And so Phyllis called me. She says, Josanne, you're going to have to do it. You're the writer. And I said, oh, my goodness. So I had set up questions, like a month in advance for both of us to riff off of. And then the second blow was that Vicki Pepper got back to Phyllis, and she says, no, this is going to be related to the Juneteenth. So I need questions related to that, slavery, racism. And I said, oh, my goodness, this is a historic book that takes place during that time. But, there's some other elements. And so Phyllis said, hey, this is what's needed. So I came up with a different set of questions, like a couple of days before the interview. And then got on the phone. Oh, I didn't even mention we had to do a sound check, Phyllis and I, because she said, "You can't use your cell phone." Vicki said, "That doesn't translate very well. It has to be on your landline." And I said, "My landline can only pick up sound quality if I have it on speaker." She says, "You can't do it on speaker either." She made a point, it has to be just a regular phone call. And I said, "Oh my goodness." So I didn't know that in advance. So this was the day of that I found out this information. And I said, "Okay, I'll do the best." And so I spoke with Phyllis over the phone using my landline without speaker. And she says, "Yeah, I could hear you pretty well." And so that's the key, pretty well. Cut to the interview time, and Vicki was so gracious, so very nice. When my sound levels dropped, she would say, "Can you do that over again? Because we lost you on, that last part of the sentence." So the audio is going to be up and down, and I can't, that was the best I could do. So we had these technical issues at play, my own nervousness, and Phyllis is the last comment. She says, "You got this. Just, be yourself and keep it upbeat and, just speak to the topics. You know this." So I says, "Okay." So I went on and, it was, I took a Dale Carnegie class with my sister Lydia some years ago. And one of the key things that I remember is they said to, you know, think on your feet. And sometimes it's better to do things on your feet. So I stood up, had the phone, had my questions and my answers already written out because I said, I'm going to forget something. So I wrote them out and I responded to the questions that we both knew she was going to ask. So, and it wasn't rehearsed. It was all fresh right off the cuff. However, I didn't know how I wanted to respond to some of the questions. And so, all in all, the interview went, I think, really well. And as you'll hear, you can critique me. And I'm sorry, this is going to go a little bit longer than my usual vlogs because I want to get through all of these points. And the last one was she said, how did racism connect with today and also slavery connect with today? And I told her that we as a people have worked very hard to keep our families together. And my own parents' experience with us was to teach us to get our education, provide for our families financially, and do the best we can, as God has given us talents, strengths, time, and abilities. So, so that was my answer. However, I hadn't seen Sound of Freedom before this interview. And I would highly recommend that you see that because as I looked at this modern day slavery, which is, child sex trafficking, which is a horrendous subject. And I was hesitant about seeing the movie as a teacher for 27 plus years. And some of these kids just reminded me of some of my students just too vividly. But it wasn't done in a distasteful way. It was very, very well done, and as someone who's worked with film and in film, the film industry for, even peripherally, the little experience that I had, it was really, really well done. So, but the thought that I had was, this one comment one guy said was something that resonated with me, and, when you see it, you'll probably pick it out, but it has to do with when God tells you to do something, what is your answer going to be? And that's what I felt about making do. I felt so strongly that the Lord was telling me that I needed to tell a story, to relate these incidents that fictionalized accounts of what happened with my parents because it carries over to today in a lot of different ways. So I said, okay, that was a confirmation for me to hear that in the film. I said, okay, no matter how hard it is, no matter how exhausted I am, it's just get her done because this is what I really believe God has put on my plate to do. So thank you so much for subscribing, please share. And if you have a mission in your life, I would highly suggest get her done. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye.